feel led to say to visitors with us today that worship, the time of worship is known at Apostles to be pretty darn prompt. We usually get out, and you can ask any of the members there, sometimes 5 minutes to 11. That's not what I have today. So we have having so many rituals and wonderful things, and I have the word to share with you. So, but we'll be through at time to get the ice cream. That's the important thing. Fred Pratt was one of the great preachers of my time, and I was fortunate enough to have been able to study with Fred for a short time. This sermon was inspired in a major way by him, and I thank you, Dr. Pratt. The scripture is from the 11th chapter of the book of Hebrews. By faith, Abraham and Sarah obeyed when they were called to set out for a place that they were to receive as an inheritance. And they set out, not knowing where they were going. By faith, they stayed for a time in the land they had been promised, as in a foreign land, living in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob. For they looked forward to the city that has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. Therefore, from these, old and worn out as they were, descendants were born as many as the stars of heaven, and as innumerable grains of sand by the seashore. All of these died in faith without having received the promises. But from a distance they saw and greeted them. They confessed that they were strangers and foreigners on the earth. For people who speak in this way make it clear that they are seeking a homeland. If they had been thinking of returning, they would have had the opportunity to do so. But as it is, they desire a better country. That is, one that is like heaven. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God. Indeed, God has prepared a city for them. Let us pray. Holy One, be with your servants now and your servant, that words heard and words spoken would be found well-pleasing in your sight, you who are our rock, our strength, and our place. A pastor in a church is called to do a number of things. If you were asked what you think some of those things are, I bet you would say something like, well, pastors are called to care for people, in joy and sorrow and baptisms and memorials and in season and out, standing alongside in the journey of life. Or perhaps you would say, well, pastors are called to care for the community, for the world, working for the peace and reconciliation of the healing of the planet, seeking to embody Jesus' life and teaching of love for neighbor and justice for all. Or perhaps you would say, well, pastors are called to care for the church itself, the work of administration with the councils and committees and the staff. And if you said things like this, you would be correct. Pastors are called to care for all these things. And there's another one. Very important. Pastors are called to care for the words of our church, the words of our faith. To care for the words is very important. Sometimes we can make mistakes, we pastors. I remember once I taught a church school class on predestination. AJ, my wife, was there, always encouraging. Those of you that have met her, supportive, generally approving of everything I say. In the lesson, I read part of a poem by the Roman Catholic theologian and poet Francis Thompson called The Hound of Heaven. In that poem is the word, I'll spell it, I want you silently, don't do anything out loud, silently to see if you can say this word to yourself. C-H-A-S-M. Sunday afternoon, AJ hadn't said anything. I had been waiting patiently, giving her ample opportunity to give her approval of this class. But there was only silence. So finally, I asked her, well, how was the church school lesson? I said this confidently. I thought it had gone well. I sought blessing and affirmation from my wife. gently, lovingly, and this daughter of a mother with a PhD in English sighed in a sort of long-suffering way and said, "Honey, it's chasm." It scared me a little bit. I thought she said my lesson had gone to, well, never mind. No, I had mispronounced the word. I had said chasm. You see, one of our jobs is to take care of the words in the church. To be around and worship and adult education and new member classes here and there, helping with the use of those really hard words to say. Now, I'm not talking about the easy ones. Not talking about the simple ones. The easy ones like apocalyptic and eschatological and sanctification and justification and panentheistic. Not those easy ones. No, I'm talking about the really, really hard ones. Words like God, Christ, peace, joy, justice, kindness, love. So today I brought a word up here with me into the pulpit. One of the hard ones. And I want to share it with you. It's the word place. Place. It's a wonderful word. It's a powerful word. But it is one of those hard words to say because it, like all of the really difficult words, can be misused, can be misused. It can be employed in hurtful ways, in shaming ways, in demeaning ways. You may have heard it used that way. A woman's place is in the home. Or they can't move into our neighborhood, our country. Just let them keep to their place. Oh, I get so mad. I just get so mad when I hear somebody misuse that word, mispronounce it like that. I want to go up to them and say, "Listen here, you're misusing that word. You give it back to me and I'll just keep it here for safe use until you're ready to use it correctly." The word place is not meant to be used like that. It is meant to be said with grace and compassion. And it's a very, very special word. I've been studying it. I've been practicing it. And I believe I'm prepared to use it correctly this morning. Here goes. You all come over to my place. For her, I'll always have in my heart a warm place. Now, daughter, I know you're going off to college and beyond, and that you don't really plan on living with us here anymore. But, honey, I want you to know and never forget, with us, you will always have a place. Is that it? Professor Pratt tells at the time he was fly fishing in a mountain stream, finished and climbed up out of the stream to go up to the road to his car when another car drove up. An older couple got out. "Oh," said Fred, the preacher, you know, we're all given this curiosity that sometimes just pushes right into things. "Oh," he said, "come to do some fishing." "No." Then they opened the trunk, got out 2 folding chairs. "Oh," Fred said, "you come to have a picnic." "No." They unfolded the chairs and sat down, and Fred asked, unable to stop, "Well, what are you doing?" And the man said, "I'm a minister in the Presbyterian Church. I'm going to retire in 2 years. We've lived over 40 years in church houses. I bought an acre here along the creek, and we're going to have our own place." Can you say that? And the children ran all through the new little simple house, 1 bath, 5 rooms, built by volunteers, Habitat for Humanity. And that mother stood there, eyes brimming with tears, and the children running into each room, running into that room, running into this room, back and forth, pulling at her skirt, going back off into the room, going into the bathroom. "Mama, is that my room? Mama, is that the kitchen? Mama, is that our bathroom?" Till finally, she takes those little faces in her hands, and she says, "Yes, darling, this is our." I'm talking about the word place. You see what a powerful word it is, how we yearn for it, all of us, how we need it. We get exhausted and confused and lost like sheep without a shepherd. We hunger for place. What is the place? It's what Abraham and Sarah were looking for. Sarah and Abraham, now they were pilgrims, exiles in a foreign land, wandering about, not knowing where to go, it said. And you know, preachers and teachers have made a lot of that story, kind of romanticized it. I don't know if you've ever heard a sermon with it kind of got romanticized, but it happens. And, you know, we can even maybe get a little movie going. You know, starring Denzel Washington as Abraham and maybe Oprah as Sarah. I kind of like that idea. And the desert wind blows in Sarah's hair, and the stars of the desert reflected Abraham's eyes, and we're all just tingly and all romantic. Except that I hate to be the one to break this to you. I hate to, really. But we read in the text that they spent all those years living in tents. Now, most of us have spent the night in a tent. Can be kind of nice, right? For a week, maybe. At the state park, have those little poles with the outlets so you can bring extension cords along, maybe. Or maybe you go out on the boundary waters where they have portages and stuff, and you stay out there for a week. That's nice. But for years and years, in the deepest, darkest parts of the wilderness and desert, the tent stakes always breaking. My God. The leaks and the wet sleeping bags. The windstorms that turn the tent into a parachute. I got to tell you, friends, I don't think it was all that wonderful. As a matter of fact, we can well imagine that every night, Sarah would walk up behind Abraham, just exhausted, and tug on his arm and say, honey, is this the place? If I see one more paper plate or styrofoam cup, I think I'm going to lose my grits. Just one time, Abraham, can't we use the china and the crystal? But Abraham didn't get it. You see, he thought, like we all tend to think, that the place is some kind of far-off destination. Someplace we got to get to. Someplace that we're working for. We're always searching for. On and on they go. Sarah gets sick and dies, and Abraham buries her off in some rocky field. Finally, he gives up, like we all must give up our efforts to go it alone. And Abraham must have said to God, I give up. Where is this confounded place? And Abraham, and God said to Abraham, Abraham, I am the place. I am the place. We surrender to the one who is with us always, to receive the truth God has for us, that the better country, the homeland that we seek, is not out there somewhere, but is in here. It begins in here. God is the powerful presence, the eternal nowness that we seek. I think that's what the author of Hebrews means by that word heavenly. Did you hear when I read the scripture? He said heavenly. I don't think that means so much a physical location removed from earth, but a spiritual location here on earth. That the place we seek so earnestly, so urgently, is in fact our search for God. And the truth is that God has always been and will always be the place. You see what that means? Wherever we are, the place is with us. Rabbi Silverman was a renowned professor at Vanderbilt Divinity. The rabbi in his teaching and lecturing would never use the word God. Would never say it. One day in class, a student asked him, Rabbi, you never use the word God. What is your favorite expression for the Almighty? And the rabbi looked quickly at the class and without hesitation said, of all the names, my favorite is one of the oldest. It is Makom. And the student said, what does Makom mean? And the rabbi said, the place. God is the place. God is our yearning. God is what we strive for and grasp for with all that is within us. When we want to be home, when we want our own place, what we are really hungry for is that God within. And God God, beloved, has been there all along. I close with this. These new members that we received today have come looking for a place. Families with children have come looking for a place to this church. And I wonder if we might take a lesson from one of our children. When Elijah comes for the children's time, and I know some of you have noticed it, have seen this, he often sits in the exact same spot, under the communion table, by my chair. And he always looks so snug there. Something sheltering him, loving him, caring for him. It's like he has found place. How about you? Let us pray. Oh, Macomb, our souls are restless till they find their rest in thee.